Starting to have some hours into this thing as far as work's involved. But it's starting to be the truck I want it to be, so I'm excited about that. Painted the grill as well as a new emblem. Painted the rims. Found a tool box to throw in the back, so that's in there for now temporarily. The rims are painted. I found a parts truck. I just got to figure out how to get it for that big rust hole right there, and maybe some rocker work. I got the scan gauge 2 on. That's all working. Show you some of the gauges here.
Recovered in Kirk.
You can read those. There's some of the gauges that I've programmed in. It's such a glare on my phone, I can't tell if you can see that or not. But that's in. The visor, like I said last time, I did that. Now under the hood, I got the crankcase breather. So it's no longer going into your intake or my intake, but you can see this one. I got a new piece for my buddy because this one was just fucking full of oil and it was filthy and it made the turbo suck in all that oil. Terrible design. That's a prime example why I did this. Otherwise, you're feeding oil and whatever else. It's kind of the same concept as the EGR now in the newer trucks, where it's pretty much feeding the exhaust back into the system. Kind of similar to that concept. Terrible design. Unhealthy for the motor. Bunch of contaminants. So that's why crankcase is the atmosphere. But besides that, I got the fuel cap. Kind of bling that up a little bit, clean it up a little bit. I also got the intercooler pipes coming. They're not on yet, but I got new intercooler pipes. I'm figuring these are all filled with oil from the turbo and the crankcase vent from before. I think this one got plugged up and then maybe it was pressuring too much, and then when it finally did let go of that pressure, it was pushing more oil than it would otherwise. Then I did the fuel spring delete inside here, where the little fuel neck comes up, where it comes in. I pulled the spring and the little valve out of there, all the pieces pretty much. So now it's just free flowing. And I did find a broken O-ring when I was in there. So whatever it was supposed to be doing, it wasn't going to be doing it anyway because of the broken spring or the broken O-ring. So it wasn't making a good seal. So I've done that along with the new fuel filter, changed the HPOP oil, changed the motor oil, new filter. I got a new turbo wheel on the way. I just ordered that, like I said, along with the 2 intercooler pipes. And I also got a new turbo pedestal, as well as the back plate that's just open rather than the valve on this. I'm guessing that one still looks stock, judging by the bolts. So I'm gonna change that out, along with the turbo wheel. And what else did I get? I got the plenums, aftermarket plenums. I don't know if I'm gonna install those or not because it looks like a pain in the ass job. But I'm gonna kind of see as I get the turbo off and the intercoolers pipes in and stuff like that, how difficult it really is. I'm gonna check for oil in this. It looks clean, or not oily at least, so that's good. Because when I got it, there was a bunch of oil in there. This thing was about 2 gallons over full of oil. I think that's where a lot of its problems came from. As well as I think the IPR valve was sticking in the HPOP, or if it's not sticking, just not functioning right. But after I changed the oil, that seemed to fix it. So if you're having trouble with your truck running crappy or stalling out, I recommend changing the oil in there before doing the IPR and see if that fixes it or not. I silicone the bottom of the oil pan where the U is, because I had a whole bunch of oil coming through there. Kind of looks like it got a little bit dirty. It's overkilled wicked, but yeah, it's fairly clean still. But I used a lot of gasket sealer on that. I didn't want to go over it with JB Weld, so I just figured I'd go thick on it. New crankcase breather as well back there, because the one that was on it was plugged up, full of oil, and just, it couldn't breathe. And that was creating more pressure in the motor as well. So that got switched out. I'm trying to think of what else. I'm thinking about buying the fuel piece that goes to each side of the head. I forget what it's called, but I'm thinking about doing that. Supposedly it lets fuel out of the injectors and it goes back into the tank rather than making the injectors compress or use whatever fuel's inside there. So if there's air in it, it'll let it bleed off and go back to tank, whereas this system's like closed loop and it's just forcing it through your injectors. I also got the crossover cooler or line that's going to go from one side to the other behind that turbo. So when I pull the turbo and possibly do the plenums, I'm going to also do that. I'm just trying to look inside there, like at the plenum, to see if it might have been leaking too, because that's kind of why I bought it too, just to reseal everything. And I'm also going to see when I get the plenums if they are bigger, and I'm going to need bigger intake boots off this piece or not, because that was one thing I was questioning. And also when the turbo's off, I'm going to clean it, because I know that thing was just eating oil for a while. You can see it kind of build up there on that little crack, and then where it bolts to the hot side of the turbo, you can see a little bit of oil there too. So I'm just pretty much just going to go through the whole damn thing and check it out, get an idea how it works and what's going on with it. But I'm trying to think of anything else that I've done as far as mods or improvements, so you can get an idea of what maybe to do with your truck. I had that one video of this thing running like complete crap, stalling out, wouldn't take throttle. I think a lot of it was water in the fuel, and I got past that. Part of it might have been the lift pump. I pushed air back through it, trying to clean out towards the tank side, and I also pushed air this way, which probably wasn't the best because it's putting air in the system, but it also helped to clean out the lift pump. So those are a few things that I've done, and there's still going to be more. I'm trying to make this truck as dependable and just more easy to work on, in a sense of, if I see what's wrong or what to expect, then I'm going to know in the future when it happens. I also got extra high pressure oil lines. One was a crossover tube, but I think I'm just going to get the solid line crossover tube instead. I'll order that one, and then I'll keep those other three technically, because they come with the crossover line when you buy them. But I'm going to keep those 3 as spares for the H-pop high pressure lines. And then I also got an extra lift pump on the way, so that the main failure points I all have backups for. I plan on trucking pretty long distance with this, so I'm just trying to plan accordingly. I was going to get a tuner, but after doing the intake and gutting out this fuel piece in there, it woke it up quite a bit. So I'm hoping if I can continue to pluck away at trying to improve the horsepower without a tuner, that if I ever did get a tuner down the road, it'll just be that much better as far as ready for the performance aspect of it. Or maybe the 40 horsepower tune will be like the 60 on a stock setup, whereas mine's going to be a little bit more beneficial / built than the stock one, meaning the motor's going to make more horsepower on its own, that it won't need that extra 60 from the tuner. It might only need 40. So I'll be able to run a little smoother, a little safer, hopefully keep the EGTs down. Like I said, I'm going to replace that turbo wheel, try to improve the spool up at the lower bottom end, And also at the very top end, it's a little bit slow. So if I could just fill that gap, that'll smooth this truck right out without a tuner. So pretty much just trying to get it dialed with parts that I can add on my own without the tuner. And then, like I said, worst comes to worst, if I want to have the tuner for fun / having the power if and when I need it, I'll do that. But that's a good look and a good idea of what I've done so far. And I'll keep you updated as I go with anything else I do to this thing. I have a bunch of parts coming, so when I do that, you'll see all the new mods on top of what's here now. Just gonna give you a good look, pan around the whole motor. Those stock inlets for the boost into the intercooler are hopefully gonna get swapped next time. I just noticed that. I don't know if you could see that, but that fitting almost looks like it. Oh, I guess not. It's bent around that fitting, but man, is that sketchy. Yeah, hopefully the other piece, you see right there where the bolt is, hopefully the other piece is more round and sits up a little higher and the angle's a little bit better. For better flow and looks, it would look a lot better. But yeah, that's an update. Some things you could do to your truck that are free, gut that out. That seemed to improve. Oh, and I also got a fuel spring coming. I might wait to do that in case I do the splitter there, where a fuel line goes to this side of the head and that side of the head for an exit point for your fuel, so your injectors don't have to push air through. It's like $200, but I feel like that's a pretty safe thing to have, and it should improve the longevity of the motor, because that's another reason why I'm doing all this over the tuner. Trying to prepare for the long term of this thing lasting. It's at like 250K now. If it can make it 500,000 miles, that would be pretty wild. And it is the 6-speed, so it's set up to be built. If it was an automatic, I wouldn't even waste my time. But because it's the 6-speed 450 long bed straight frame, it's a good platform. So I'm hoping I can make this motor be all it can be and just run the shit out of it. Get a bunch of runtime, get a bunch of work done, make some money, clean up, all that stuff. But there's a good solid update on everything I've done so far. Also on the list is batteries. I noticed since I put that Scan Gauge 2 in, that voltmeter says like 12.3, whereas the one on the gauge is like 14. So way different readings on the volts through the Scan Gauge over the stock gauge pod. So that alone has kind of proved that it's better going through the computer rather than just like a shitty ordinary gauge. But yeah, it gives you some idea of what's happening. There's a great look at what I've done so far and an update on this. And I noticed the alternator gets really hot, so I might be doing an alternator. Not 100% sure, but that might be part of the battery issue too. So it's kind of on my list, or watch list at least. But I'll get this video uploaded so you can see, and yeah, we'll let you decide what you might want to do with your truck.